MIRA Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
It's the morning drive at MIRA Business FM. Renewable energy is expanding rapidly across the Middle East. Major investments pouring into solar, into cleaner power and grid infrastructure. But as electricity demand rises and energy security remains a major priority, is the region moving fast enough to power its green ambitions? Lots of questions to ask our next guest, because it's the 50th edition of Middle East Energy in Dubai next week, 1st to the 3rd of September. Mark Ring is the group's exhibition director of the event and joins me in the studio. Mark, good to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good to meet you. So, where's the investment going? What challenges lie ahead? What could define the next chapter of the region's energy transition, and more? Loads. To start with, though, Middle East Energy 50 this year, half a century. What does reaching a milestone like that say about the region's energy industry and the evolution of it, I guess?
I think first and foremost, it's important to look back and look back at those that first launched Middle East Energy, or Middle East Electricity, as it was known at the time. And I think as a platform, it's a testament to what they launched and what the teams have built over the last 5 decades to get to this moment. Back in the 70s, going into the 80s, and right the way through to 2012, the majority of electricity here in the United Arab Emirates and here in Dubai was generated from gas. But where we stand today is that we now have 25% of our electricity that's generated by nuclear power, and 10% that's generated by renewables. So what we've seen in that time, in those 5 decades, is that how our power is generated here in the United Arab Emirates has changed dramatically and will continue to do so as we move forward. And for us as event organisers, it's incredibly important that we have met the needs of the industry and have been that central meeting point for the energy industry over the last 5 decades. But for us, as we move forward, it's important that we continue to meet those needs, and meeting those will mean continue to keep up with what that energy mix looks like here in the region.
I mean, what we've seen is, and you tracked it quite nicely there, I have to say, we've seen a transition with this region, not just here in the UAE, but across the region, with such heavy investment in that transition. How's that reflected in the companies and the tech and the solutions that you're going to be, I guess, showcasing?
Yeah, I think, again, when the event was launched, the priority and the business that were present on the show floor were there to showcase the products and services about how the power is taken from that generation and then transmitted and distributed, so moved through the grid and into the areas and the cities that need power. As we move forward to today, we have 4 key sectors within our show. We have the generation, which includes renewables, backup power, and a wide range of other emerging technologies. We have the transmission and distribution sector, which again is how we move power throughout our grids. We have storage, which is essential for those renewable projects and those renewable platforms, taking that solar power, for example, storing it, and then distributing it out to the grid. And then finally, efficiency. And efficiency is incredibly important part of the energy mix story. Efficiency is how we use our power and how we use that well. So we've got companies on the show floor showcasing the latest technology around the AI and grid integration. We've got companies on the show floor showcasing EV charging technologies. We've got companies on the show floor showcasing the latest across all of those key sectors that I've outlined.
Okay, so let's look at the macro picture across the Middle East. We've got some fairly aggressive net zero clean energy targets, obviously. From where you sit, you have a vantage point on this, I think. kind of overseeing the market almost, or at least a better view than I do. How well is the pace of execution matching the ambitions that have been set, do you think?
The pace of delivery, the pace of ideas through to project delivery in the United Arab Emirates is unprecedented. With population growth, the AI economy, the industrial growth across the region, the grid, the generation, the entire energy industry has had to keep pace with that exponential growth. And we've reached a point today where generation itself isn't the challenge. The challenge is ensuring that we have a mixed generation base, that then the region can use its natural resources as an export, and ensure that we have a stable generation base to be able to power this huge growth within the region. So I think to answer your question is that the United Arab Emirates have not only kept pace with their original targets, I think they're outpacing them in certain cases. And when it comes to the energy mix and the type of generation on offer, right the way through to how we use our power well, we're in excellent shape now, but we're in excellent shape to meet the next challenge. And that next challenge is the huge increase in electricity demand, which is coming from AI and digital infrastructure.
Well, it's at an all-time high, isn't it? We've got population growth, urban expansion, the cooling and industrial requirements that AI needs. How are utilities and governments balancing the kind of immediate need for reliable kind of baseload power with that long-term push to renewables?
The starting point is let's start with the base point. I think the country has a number of core generation routes. We've talked about gas, we've talked about nuclear, and we've talked about the ever-growing renewables sector. So the country's in an incredible position right now to deal with that base load that's required for that growing population, the expanding Dubai, the expanding United Arab Emirates. It's in a fantastic position right now. But to meet the demands of AI, if we use that as an example, the country's got to continue to diversify that energy mix, because not one power source is going to be able to meet that demand.
Sure.
So the renewable energies, if we look at the solar park, that will continue to need to expand. The reliance on nuclear energy, delivering that steady baseload to this region, will continue to be there. And we will continue to need to use our natural resources here in the region to be able to meet this demand. And this AI demand is probably the greatest shift in energy demand since the start of the exhibition, start of Middle East Energy.
I bet, yeah, it must be. I mean, everybody's talking about it. Just as everybody's talking about, solar farms and gigawatt scale clean energy projects, but you have to have a grid that can handle it, obviously. How critical is upgrading, transmission, distribution, and smart grid infrastructure become for energy security?
I think for security and efficiency in general, for both of those reasons, the constant development, the constant upgrading of our grid network is incredibly important. You see that on the show floor at Middle East Energy this year. Efficiency as a core sector of ours within our show, but also the Global Energy Efficiency Alliance, which is a new alliance which has been launched by the United Arab Emirates government and is being led by the Ministry of Energy and Infrastructure. And they're bringing together countries, they're bringing together up to 40 nations and 25 private sector companies for a roundtable next week to discuss exactly that, to discuss efficiency, to discuss best practice, and ensure that that we are across our country and in the wider region coming together to ensure that we are moving in the right direction for how we use our power. It's not just generating it. It's once we've generated, how can we use that power most efficiently, and how we use that well moving forward. So it's a key sector of ours within our show. We will have the second ever meeting of the Global Energy Efficiency Alliance taking place at Middle East Energy next week. And it will continue to be a growing sector which will garner greater interest and focus from governments as we move forward.
Let's have a quick word about one of your other focuses, and that's storage, I guess batteries, really. Intermittency is kind of the primary hurdle for solar and for wind. How rapidly are energy storage solutions and advanced battery technologies scaling up across the GCC so that you can kind of bridge that, intermittent gap, if you like?
It's very simple. I think the news story, or perhaps the negative news story towards renewables energy is exactly that. It's the intermittency. It's when the sun goes down. How are we going to continue to use those solar parks? Well, the answer is that renewable energy and large scale storage go hand in hand.
Yeah,
they go together. They are the answer to that intermittency. And where we stand today, the storage is as advanced as required to be able to generate the power from renewables, store it in these large-scale storage units that sit alongside every renewable energy source here in the region and globally, and then be able to distribute that from those storage units into the grid itself. So they go hand in hand. You can't have a conversation about renewable energy without large-scale storage.
For sure.
And that's the same on the show floor. A lot of our renewable energy companies that are present next week at the event will either be involved themselves in large-scale storage, or will partner with other exhibitors on our show floor as part of their major projects that they're taking forward.
Okay, so generation, transmission, distribution, storage, efficiency, all key points that you're going to cover at the show. I wanted to ask you a question about funding because, the transition has to be funded and financing, massive energy transformations needs pretty deep pockets, clearly. Are we seeing private equity, international clean tech firms and sovereign wealth funds get together, align effectively through PPPs, through public-private partnerships?
They certainly are. I think the example of how we approach our energy finance here in the region is showcased by what I just described in terms of our Global Energy Efficiency Alliance.
Yeah.
Yes, the country can set out its clear ambitions, but without the support of its utilities, without the support of the financial industries and the private sector energy companies, without that collaboration, the barriers will be too great to overcome, and those ambitions that are set out early will remain as pipe dreams. So I think the region has shown here very clearly that those partnerships are integral to be able to deliver those ambitions that are set out early.
What about exhibitors and I guess by extension industry leaders as well? What are people telling you about where the opportunities are, the big opportunities in the energy market in this region?
If we look at our exhibitor base, we've got a global exhibitor base that comes to Middle East Energy in Dubai. We have exhibitors from the US, we have exhibitors from the UK.
You've got, 30,000 people coming for
We've got 30,000 people coming,
you?
most definitely, yeah. And the global exhibitor base chooses to meet here in Dubai for a reason. That central meeting point, and its access to major projects that are developing here in Dubai, across the United Arab Emirates as a whole, and in the wider region. So those businesses choose to meet here in Dubai for a reason, and it is access to the region's largest projects. And
I guess into Africa as well.
And exactly that. We bring in utilities, we bring in government partners, we bring in private sector as well from across Africa. not just in the regions we operate, our other events, which is Nigeria, Egypt, and South Africa, but we bring in key buyers and project leads from across the entirety of Africa to ensure that Dubai and Middle East Energy continues to be that global meeting point for those companies coming in from around the world, but also those high-level buyers, those project leads, and our wider audience, which we expect to reach 30,000 next week.
And you're kind of the first big show back as well. So congratulations on that, I suppose, Jubilee. You were supposed to be on in April, weren't you? But obviously, with the conflict as the backdrop, you're first kids on the block, kind of. Which markets across the Middle East are generating the most interest from international companies looking to either enter the region or maybe expand in the region?
I think firstly, we'd like to touch upon being the first one back. We're in a privileged position. It's a very exciting opportunity for Middle East Energy to run next week at Dubai World Trade Center.
Do you know,
it's been 17 months in the making, so we're really excited to get out.
Well, it's a lot of work, but it's that thing where people say, "I'm really excited," but actually, I can see in your eyes that it kind of is, because it's like, "Oh, finally, we could do this," after all this time.
It certainly is.
It's a year and a half of your life, nearly, Mark.
It certainly is, and hadn't thought of it in that way. But it's been we were 90% ready to go, sort of when the conflict started. Sure. So we've taken this time to engage with our stakeholders, speak to our government partners, speak to our audience bases, and our exhibitors, and across the board, those conversations have been incredibly encouraging, despite what was going on outside and in the wider region. That they wanted to come to Dubai. They wanted to come to Dubai in September and continue the momentum that they've built over the years at our show and in the region. So that's where that excitement comes from. It's not just my excitement. It's the encouraging conversations that we've had over the last few months and that have led us to the wonderful position that we're in now, and the privilege to be finally able to deliver Middle East Energy 2026 next week.
Okay, what about those international companies? Anybody looking to either get into the region or to expand in the region? Which markets are interesting to those people, those entities, if you like?
From an international standpoint, they are first and foremost coming to the United Arab Emirates for that local opportunity. The pace of growth here in Dubai and across the country as a whole continues at an absolutely exponential pace, unrivaled to many other countries and regions around the world. So first and foremost, they're choosing to come here to Dubai. And to the United Arab Emirates because of their interest in projects here. The additional value that we're able to offer as an event is those buyers and project leads that we bring in from across the wider GCC. So the Saudi market is of particular interest, but as we go slightly further afield, certainly into Africa, Egypt and South Africa are two areas that we operate exhibitions in, but also are two countries that exhibitors come to Middle East Energy to speak to buyers and utilities from those countries. And then we will extend that conversation into our other events in those countries. So I would say Egypt, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, but primarily the opportunity here in the United Arab Emirates and Dubai is great, and one they're very excited about.
This is kind of the meeting point, Dubai, isn't it, for global energy companies, I suppose, in lots of ways, as it is for investors and for policymakers as well.
Most definitely. It's again, coming back to, there's a reason that we have a large percentage of our exhibitors coming from China, from India, from across Asia as a whole, and right the way through into Europe and into the US. There's a reason they come here to meet, and it's because we can connect them with projects both here in the country, in the region, and beyond as well. It's not focused exclusively on the local market.
Okay.
So they're able to come here and do business across multiple markets.
Golden Anniversary Edition at DWTC this week. Let's talk about the cool new stuff, the shiny stuff. What defining trends, maybe breakthrough technologies, do you expect to dominate the floor of the exhibition this year? Anything you can warn us about in advance or tell us about in advance? I mean, obviously, solutions around renewables or efficiency or digitalization or sustainability all come to mind. But is there anything I've missed you can tell us? Or would you have to shoot me if you told me?
I certainly wouldn't need to do that. But
Good.
it's there's a huge number of exciting products and services going to be demonstrated on the show floor next week. On the generation front, we will certainly be having sort of the latest integration between renewables and the grid, and how that comes to life through artificial intelligence, through that efficiency piece. So there's a number of sessions within our conferences, but a large number of exhibitors presenting the latest products there of that integration between renewables and grid. I think we've touched upon the Global Energy Efficiency Alliance. That is a key moment for us next week at Middle East Energy. But outside of that, we have our Global Leadership Summit, which is a roundtable style discussion that's being launched in partnership with DET, so Dubai Department of Economy and Tourism. And within that, we have high-level speakers, a former US Energy Secretary, Jennifer Granholm. We've got the International Renewable Energy Association, IRENA, so Francesco La Camera, who will be part of that conversation. So high-level discussions that are taking place at a leadership level, from our Global Leadership Summit through to the Global Energy Efficiency Alliance. But those conversations start there, and then they continue and quite often conclude out on the show floor with the 1,500 exhibitors that are presenting the very latest technologies from efficiency, which we've touched upon, generation, storage, and transmission and distribution. So there's a wide range of technologies, and what I'd ask you listeners to do is come and explore the products and services that are across all of our key sectors. Because under one roof here in Dubai, they'll be able to see the breadth of the energy industry in one place.
Okay. And also, it's people. It's very much about people you're talking about there as well, the discussions that are going to happen. What does growing international participation at the show tell us about global interest in the region's energy market, do you think? What are people telling you?
We look at our the percentage of exhibitors on the show floor. We probably see 35% of our exhibitors coming from Asia, so a strong presence from Asia. We have 25% coming from the United Arab Emirates and the GCC. And then the remainder coming primarily from Europe and the US. So we've got a pretty even geographical spread of companies that are looking to come here and do business in the region and do business with the high-level buyers and utilities that we bring in from across the Middle East and Africa. So I think that what that tells us is that there's global interest in Dubai. There continues to be global interest in the United Arab Emirates. And the projects that are up and running here and in the wider GC are incredibly attractive to those market leaders from Asia, from US, from Europe, in their specialist sectors. And they're looking to come here and choose to come here to do business. So I think it's a very positive picture that we have that global interest, that we have the projects that excite these major businesses across the board. And it'll be great to see them in person, meeting and connecting to drive projects forward here in Dubai and at Middle East Energy next week.
After 17 months of planning and blood and sweat and tears and all that good stuff as well, I suppose. Did you get the memo about the crystal ball we wanted you to bring today?
I did, I think. Yes,
Good.
I think I
Okay,
received that
'cause-
last night. Yes.
Good. Well, this is the crystal ball question. I mean, it's always a thing, but I'm interested in your opinion because you're very positive about the transition, the way things are going forward. You're, in my opinion, quite bullish about the sector for obvious reasons. But what might the regional energy landscape look like by, I don't know, the end of the decade, for example? Will green, hydrogen, solar, or smart grids define the next era of growth, do you think?
If we're to look into my crystal ball,
I'll just buff it for you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's something that we consider as exhibition organisers within the energy industry on a regular basis.
Sure.
The success of Middle East energy over the last 5 decades has been built off of understanding the needs of the industry at the time and talking to the industry about how they see the industry looking in the years ahead and how we can support them and meet those needs on the show floor. So whilst we've been able to do that over the last 5 decades, it's important for me and my team now and the wider stakeholders involved in our event to continue to have those conversations. And as I said, they're conversations we have on a regular basis. So based on those conversations and our viewpoint as exhibition organisers and platform builders for this industry, I would say that the key point is around the energy mix itself. We've touched upon it a couple of times, but what we're going through right now is an exponential increase in energy demand. That demand is something that our country, our region, the globe has not seen since sort of earlier urbanization, electricity being distributed out to the majority of say the Western world. This is an unprecedented time, and that has primarily been driven by this increase in AI and digital infrastructure demand. And to be able to meet that, the only thing that is clear is that one single power source is not able to meet that demand. So if one source is unable to meet that demand, we will need to continue to evolve that energy mix. That energy mix here in the UAE is built around solar, nuclear, and gas. However, we may increase, certainly from a solar standpoint. I expect us to increase our capacity here exponentially over the next 5 to 10 years in solar. The nuclear power will continue to be that strong, steady baseload, and gas, with the natural resources that are available in the region, will continue to be a key player. But that's the energy mix here in the United Arab Emirates. That energy mix in other locations around the world where that demand is increasing as well may look towards hydrogen, may look towards wind power in a greater way. But what is key is that energy mix and that diversification for both demand reasons, but also you touched on security reasons as well. That to have multiple energy sources is an important security point, and to be able to meet the demand of AI, but also the incredible growth in population, in urbanization, in industrial here in the region. So I think diversification is the key point. Once that power is generated via that diversified route, then the smart grids, the efficiency of how we improve our grid system, how we improve the storage that can then distribute that power will continue to evolve. But diversification and leaning in to how we can use smart grids, how we can use AI to further improve efficiency. So I think that's what we will be continuing to talk about in 5 years from now. And that diversified picture, I believe, will be relevant and present in 10 years' time.
No shortage of stuff to discuss next week, that's for sure. Congratulations on the show. First Kids on the Block back for the new season. Mark Ring is the Group Exhibition Director for Middle East Energy on next week at DWTC. Thanks for coming in, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. We look forward to welcoming your listeners to Middle East Energy next week.
Stay up to date with all MIRA Business FM content at the website mirabusiness.fm.
MIRA Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. MIRA Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is the Morning Drive. Time to talk property news this week, and Mario Volpi is back. He is a real estate columnist for The National. He's a podcaster. He's an all-round real estate guru. See?
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning to you. Also a senior manager at EVA Real Estate. More years in real estate than probably he would care to remember.
Then you want to shake a stick at.
Yeah,
exactly.
Something like that. So you are here this morning, Mario. I notice there is a real feeling of enthusiasm. When you walked in, the whole place kind of lifted because you have, I believe, deal of the century that you would like to mention.
And there was I thinking we were going to talk about Chelsea's first win.
I'm not even going. No, after last night in Europe for the men in the green and white hoops, which is my son's team. My wife is Scottish. Not good for Celtic, but West Ham won, so I'm happy. Chelsea, well, who cares?
I am enthusiastic. Yeah, thank you. I'm enthusiastic about. So there's a new project that MIRA Developments are launching. They're launching them around mid-September.
Yeah, and
it's in Ras Al Khaimah, but it's not the RAC that you would be expecting, because when you hear Ras Al Khaimah, you think Al Marjan Island, you think Wynn, you think casino. This is what I would describe, I suppose, as the original staycation end of RAC. It's downtown Ras Al Khaimah. So it's nearer to where the major mall is. It's a bit further down the coast. And this particular project that I'm talking about is MIRA Coral Bay, which has been announced amongst all the agencies. It was announced here actually in the Art of Living Mall, and there's a big buzz about it because of what it has to offer.
Yeah,
this is a master plan development by MIRA, multi-branded. There's brands like Trussardi, John Richmond, Dolce & Gabbana, Elisab.
Just say Trussardi again.
Trussardi. Trussardi.
That was lovely.
Did you like this one? Dolce & Gabbana.
I enjoyed that too. Yeah,
but it's Dolce & Gabbana Casa, not the clothes, obviously.
It's getting better.
Who else is there? Jacob & Co. It's multi-branded, and so it's the first multi-branded master development. So it's not just the apartments and the villas, but everything else. There's going to be beach clubs, restaurants, and a real sense of lifestyle. And that sort of calmness. So if people are looking at RAC for the hustle and bustle, for the lights, the noise of the casino, this is not for them. This is the real, true, recharge your batteries, go down, have a really, really nice time, have some fantastic food. It's scheduled to be handed over in 2030, I believe the beginning of 2030. There's going to be hotels there as well, so a real sense of a sort of community. But what's good about it is the price point. So not only are these apartments fully furnished, fully serviced, and fully branded, in this case by John Richmond, who is a British clothes designer. Yeah, they are offering the fully serviced network to it. The whole thing is, first of all, the price point and the service, and the price point and the payment plan. So, not content with the fact that you're getting all of this, they're starting at 550,000, which you can't find a studio for that level at the moment. I mean, even in JVC, they're much more than that. I was reading that sort of in the secondary market, you're looking at sort of DIP for properties around 700,000. So to come in at 550 is an amazing price point. And notwithstanding that, it's the payment plan. It's 50% during construction. You will then get the keys on handover, having only paid 50%. The other 50% is then payable post-handover over 3 years. And so what we worked out was that if you paid 275,000, right, you will have paid 50%. The other 50% on paper, if you rent it short or long term, the tenant or the tenants should be, I mean, obviously on short term, very easily be able to pay for the repayments. Because the repayments then are just over 7,000 dirhams a month for 3 years afterwards. And when you actually look at the sort of day rate, a studio flat will rent from around, let's say, 700 800 dirhams per night, let's say, on short term. And so you only have to rent it for a week, 10 days at the most, out of that month, and then the tenant's paid for it. So it makes for a really, really, really good investment. And when you add in Etihad Rail, which obviously will link up Fujairah all the way up to Saudi Arabia, and everyone in between, we're going to have connectivity there, plus flying taxis and all the rest that we've talked about on the show before. So I just thought that it was worth, the listeners hearing about this, because it's a great opportunity. I know it sounds like a sales pitch, and I'm sorry if it does, but I'm just really excited about this particular project because it represents an amazing value for money, complete turnkey, great for, dare I say, foreign investors, so they don't have to worry about buying any furniture, right down to the knives and forks, the linen, everything. It's completely taken care of. So, I just wanted to let people know about that.
Well, it does seem like a no-brainer, and it's not in the kind of the hustle and bustle of Marjan in RAK. It's interesting, actually, you say there, when people think of Ras Al Khaimah now, it is Marjan Island, it is the Win. I don't think of Ras Al Khaimah in that way. When I think of Ras Al Khaimah, I think RAK Ceramics, because I've been looking at that logo for years.
That's amazing.
But I also think of Ras Al Khaimah as kind of almost like a country destination. It's a much more chilled.
Well, it was the original
image.
It was the original staycation, wasn't it? For us all.
Yeah.
And many times, I mean, if you go into a room and say, "Who's been to RAK for a staycation?" and all their hands go up, and depending on where. And I was at there this year for the first time in a while, and you forget how the pace of life is different. Of course, a bit further down the coast brings back into line the original staycation. Yeah, and that's why I'm saying to people here, if they want the hustle and bustle, then perhaps this isn't the kind of resort for them. But then I start to think, why do people go to the Maldives? And the answer is for rest and relaxation, because there's really not a lot to do, apart from maybe a little bit of water sport, bit of snorkeling. You end up just reading books, enjoying the sunshine, just literally recharging your battery. That's the kind of image that this particular resort, I think, is going to try and bring. And talking of the Maldives, and this tickled me, actually, because Ras Al Khaimah's got amazing beaches, at least I remember them to be amazing, and yet not good enough for this project, because they're going to be importing white sand, soft white sand from the Maldives. I'm not even sure that's even allowed, is it? Because isn't the Maldives sinking with sea levels and etc.? So
I don't know how that works. I got to be honest.
And how are they going to get it here? Well, I suppose on a ship from the Indian Ocean, I suppose. But anyway, the point is, RAK sand, not good enough. Here, have some Maldivian white sand. But anyway, I think that's just a bit of a marketing ploy. But
Maldivian white sand. Oh, we've had blue beaches at the Chelsea residences.
Yes, of course. Well, and rightly so. And I bet that was softer.
Blue is the colour for some people.
Yes, it is.
I gather. No, you're right, and I think it's reasonable to point that out. We're going to be talking to somebody about Coral Bay in more detail tomorrow morning on this programme, actually. But you're quite right to talk about it, because sometimes if there is a deal available, you got to talk about the deal available.
Well, we're at expression of interest stage, so we won't be going for sort of allocations until a week or a few weeks down the line. However, now is the time to say, well, I'd like to know a little bit more about that, or I'd like a piece of that. So obviously, the expression of interest stage is fully refundable. This is just to put you kind of in the queue, if you like, to then select your units. And I talked about studios, but they do have 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and 2-bedroom duplexes as well. And I think 3-bedroom duplex. I'm not sure on the 3-bed duplex, but definitely they've got duplexes on the 2 bedrooms. So it's not just small little And they're not even boxes, because these are 431 square feet. They're decent sizes for a studio. So I wanted to spread that word. I hope I haven't stole the thunder for the person whoever's coming tomorrow talking about it, because there's a lot to say, and there's a lot of interest on it already.
I think the boss will be pleased anyway, because we're talking about one of his developments.
Okay.
So there you go. There's a wink for you.
Okay.
But more details on that tomorrow. Here's something, I was reading a story at the weekend, and it's one of those stories where you look again at the figures. We do this all the time. I quote figures at you, and we're both a little bit
Perplexed.
sort of gobsmacked or perplexed or whatever. But here it is. Dubai adds more than 24,000 property units in 6 months. So this was Gulf News at the weekend. 104 projects worth about 111 billion dirhams completed during the first half of 2026. And you look at that and you think, but these are Land Department figures, reviewed figures. So pretty strong expansion at a time when things were much tougher, Mario.
Yeah, but you've got to remember that these are completed units,
Sure.
and even through adversity, nothing stopped.
Well, exactly.
We talked about this government sitting down, talking about expansion and infrastructure and building metro lines as things were coming over our heads. I mean, it's incredible. So from a real estate point of view, yeah, developers may have perhaps pressed the brake button a little bit, or took the foot off the gas button, but of course nothing actually stopped. So these are projects that are coming to fruition that would have been launched in 2022, 2023, and now are being delivered, and rightly so. And of course there's a big pipeline of that, because as you may recall, ever since I guess sort of 21, 22, when we had woken up from COVID, developers were going great guns. I mean, we talked on this show how just we couldn't even keep up with the level of information, launches, shows. And literally, they were like shows.
What was the stat on launches? It was launch?
There was one launch. I think it
was over a launch a day.
Oh, absolutely. It was hours. No. It was one launch every 13 hours. That's how specific it got. And the stat before that was one launch every 18 hours. Which you're approaching sort of one a day, or more than one a day. But sort of one every 13 hours. That's nearly two a day, nearly. Yeah. And it just got too much. I got to the stage where, well, I certainly couldn't keep up, and I don't even know how the agents did and the brokers. I was in awe of them. And we had no time to sell in some respects, because we were going to these launches, or developers were coming to us, and bringing donuts and bringing gifts. Please sell our projects.
I'm telling you, anybody who turns up with donuts, they're sitting down behind a microphone.
Okay, I'll sort that out next time then. But so these developments are now coming to fruition, and of course, in the main, they've all been bought. Yeah. So it's not like they're coming to market. They've been to market. They're now just being delivered. So fortunately, people can now decide to do whatever they wanted to do, whether it was to, be a holiday home, whether it's to rent out long or short term, or even to use it as a forever home, depending on the unit.
It's just the surge in completions as well. I mean, it's the rate of increase over last year. Same period last year, 75 projects, 104 projects this year. That's nearly 40% up at a time when you would think, it's much tougher. It just highlights this kind of the position, I think, of real estate here. It brings home the reality.
It's a unique sector, isn't it? I mean,
it's unique.
Having worked in London, and London at the moment is going through a bit of a torrid time in the property market. So I'm sure there's opportunities there as well. But having worked there, it's very, you can pretty much every so often tell when a recession is coming in real estate, when there's going to be problems. Here, you can never really call it, because you expect something and then something else happens. Sometimes good and sometimes bad. Obviously, what we're kind of going through right now, nobody would have necessarily predicted or even wanted. But look how we're dealing with it. I mean, it's incredible. These numbers are still hitting us with incredulity. And frankly, like I say, it's a unique market and one that I'm privileged to be part of. I'm privileged to be working in, and investors and residents have realised that they want to be part of it as well by putting roots down specifically rather than, let's say, just renting.
Do you know how I track it? And I've realised that I do this, and it's unwitting, and I hadn't really thought about this before, but I kind of track it by your demeanour almost in your mood. And I think back,
Okay.
no, I mean this. If I look back a year ago to now, you have changed companies. There's a very different feeling. We've had a lot happen in the last year, and I know you've had a lot happen in the last year. But I look at the way you are now, the expression on your face, and the kind of positivity over Coral Bay that you were expressing a little bit earlier. And it kind of mirrors the way the market is. Does that make any sense?
It does. I mean, look.
I mean, you're part of it, obviously.
Well, if a real estate person isn't positive, I think they're in the wrong game. But
we need to learn that.
But we have to be realistic as well. Yeah. I mean, there's positivity and there's being absolutely stupid from the point of view of not seeing what's in front of you. You know, let's not get away. We are in certainly, I would say, the most challenging time. And I'm talking about real estate now. I can only talk about real estate. Obviously, there's challenging times for every, especially hospitality, exactly. But in real estate, it's other than the world financial crash, which was a different jolt, a different slap in the face, perhaps. Yeah. This one being more regional, but it just seems to be. There doesn't seem to be a solution. So we're kind of getting used to the status quo. But that's where Dubai is, and the UAE in general is very resilient. And, you know, apart from the odd sort of slap between the two parties that we saw maybe several sort of weeks ago, a month or so ago, we were already starting to see, and I'm going to call them these green shoots of positivity anyway, within the marketplace.
Right.
Because all of a sudden, people realized it is what it is. We either do or we don't. And there's many that haven't, but there's many that have. And by that, I mean going into the market, actually negotiating, whatever. I've always said buyers never went away. Buyers have always been there, but they're just looking at it in a completely different way. And going back to this story of having all these handovers, if you like, it is going to make the market challenging. Certainly rentals, I think, will have an effect. And so, despite the fact that we are in this geopolitical situation, I've always said that rental prices were going to soften or become more tenant friendly.
You've been consistent.
Forget the sort of the sort of flexi rent or anything that the government or RERA are introducing. That was coming anyway. Purely and simply with the numbers. So the fact that we have this, and there's so much more in the pipeline as well, I think that certainly tenants should, in the main, be relatively happy for a while longer. This isn't just a stabilization of rents at the moment. This was on the cards for a while, and obviously this sort of sausage machine of handovers coming through later this year, and I think the peak is going to be 2028. So potentially, we could have another 1 to 2 years of, dare I say, rent softening. Purely and simply because the numbers that are coming now, not everything that is being handed over is going to be rented. Obviously, there are people who've bought them to live in them.
Sure.
But that then frees up a potential rental place if that person was renting in the first place. So you see, there's that sort of delivery cycle coming through too. We obviously still continue. We, as in the UAE, obviously still continues to sell itself on the world stage. So people are getting round to thinking, I am coming to Dubai. Despite everything that's happening on the podcast I do, we get emails from, showing my age, from people all over the world saying, we finally decided that we're going to make, the UAE or Dubai, whatever, our home. So people are coming. We don't necessarily hear about it. And it'll be interesting to see next week whether the roads are a little bit busier. In fact, today the teachers are back today for
well,
training, and then they're back on Monday. So let's see.
Teachers have been in for a few days now in some of the schools, and I've noticed a difference this week over last week. And then if you factor in schools traffic next week, I think it's going to change.
I'm lucky because I get to do this show, which is a privilege.
Is that why you're lucky?
Well, I was going on to say also that the office that I work in, we start at 10. I mean, the office hours are 10 till 6.
Okay.
And to be fair, I've never worked in an office that starts, dare I say, as late as that. So I'm really grateful. What that means for me is when I'm traveling in, I don't necessarily see the traffic that maybe others do when they're on the road at 8:30 or between 8 and, let's say, 8:45 or something like that to get into work for 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm looking at it through rose-tinted glasses a little bit, because for me, the roads are amazing. But I guess because most people are already at the office, potentially. So
unfortunately, I go past a really big school at 7:15, which is not optimum.
Well, that's why I'm interested to hear when you say that you're seeing a bit more traffic already, whereas I haven't seen that because, well, I'm lucky, like I said.
Well, definitely. I just feel, I really feel as though Dubai is busier. And I can only talk about Dubai because that's where we're sat now. But I feel as though it's almost like there's something in the air, there's something in the water kind of thing.
Well, we're waiting, aren't we?
It's bubbling, isn't it?
I think also from a business point of view, especially the hotels.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet they can't wait for the weather to get a little bit better because
so.
They've really struggled to maintain. Well, the doors open in some respects, and some of them have done an amazing job because even during the hot summer months, numbers have been half decent, obviously down from last year, but all credit to them. So I'm sure that they're going to breathe a nice sigh of relief, hopefully, if these come back.
Can I ask you something about you co-host a podcast called the Dubai Property Podcast, right? You've been doing it for a long time.
We're up to, I think, over 550 episodes.
Right. So you get people contacting you from all over the world, quite literally. And I know the thing on podcasts is, so I've just had a message in, and actually maybe you've just made it up. But you do. No, I'm not talking about you, but
how
other
dare
people.
you?
I've heard that this happens. I've been in this game for a while, but you genuinely do get messages from people from all over saying, asking you about Dubai, saying they want to come and live here.
Yeah, look, it's really, really lovely because a bit like my column, for example, I've been doing that for 13 years. And
where does the time go?
Honestly, that was a gig I thought was going to last 3-4 months, and 13 years later, I'm still writing it. But what I like about that and the podcast is when you get with the podcast, you get these emails, and you know that there's someone at the other end. Whether it's the complete other end of the world to us here, or either side, from New Zealand to Los Angeles, and everything kind of in between, to say that they've appreciated that, they've found the show. It's only 15 minutes. It's audio, so you don't even have to look at my ugly mug or anything like that. You just have to listen for 15 minutes. You do it driving. And they thank us for all the episodes. They've just found us. We've gone to the back catalogue or whatever. I mean, goodness knows, there's so many now. And as a result of listening to that, we're changing people's lives. And I guess I'm a very, very, very small cog in this huge Dubai wheel that is just showing the world exactly, or trying to show the world exactly who we are, what we offer. And I'm talking about Dubai now. And wherever they are in the world, there's problems everywhere, or even here. But when they hear the safety, when they hear of the ease of doing business, when they hear the lifestyle, the schools, the hospitality, the medical side of things, how everything we aim for the top of the top of the top. then they say, do you know what, we want a piece of that. And then it comes as a holiday, and then they see and they think, oh, it's really nice. And then a holiday turns into something a bit more interesting, and then maybe they might reach out. Next minute, they're talking about changing their lives and actually coming over. So things like this show, things like the podcast, because I know people that listen to the podcast also listen to this show. I have a friend. Well, he's become a friend now. He was a client who came from the podcast, and he listens to this show as well. And so shout out to Scott. There you go, Scott. I've done it. I was never going to do that, but he, so they listen to these things, and they educate. Yeah, we have a laugh, we have a bit of banter with the football, whatever. But this is a serious message that we're passing across. That whether it's a specific development like Coral Bay or something more grander in terms of a master community or master development that the big developers are trying to do, it's educating the public. Hopefully we don't ram it down people's throats. This is who we are. Come and see, enjoy it. If it's not your cup of tea, then that's fine. But the feedback I get is really, really good. And I get it for the National as well. Because getting a letter... sorry, I keep saying letter. Getting an email from someone saying I have a problem, and I then give whatever advice I give, and then sort of months later or whatever, I get another email saying, thank you for your advice. As a result of your advice, but all I do is I quote the law. I mean, yeah, okay, I give a bit of advice on it, but it's based on the law. I'm not a lawyer, however, all these years I've known what to say. And try to keep on top of it if there are any changes. You then get these emails back saying, as a result of your advice, as a result of your email, I had the courage to do this. Now, sometimes it's a tenant, dare I say, taking the landlord to the rent committee, which is a process, etc. And sometimes it's a landlord. Because there are rogue tenants out there as well. I don't want everybody to think it's just the landlords are there to take your money and not look after you. No, it's tenants can be an absolute nightmare as well. And well, that's humans for you, I guess. And so getting that email saying, as a result of what you did, I have done this, and I'm really happy. It shows that it's working, and the fact that it's one of the longest running columns. That, along with there's a financial one as well, I believe, that a lady called Karen has been writing for a while. So between the two of us, it's been very, very popular.
13 years. It's unbelievable. But I mean, that's the benefit of experience, isn't it? I mean, I guess it's worth remembering for a lot of people, it's the first time they may have done something.
Exactly.
And you've done this before. So if you can pass that knowledge on, that's a good thing to do.
Well, I do find that I'm repeating myself a lot, because at first I thought to myself, I mean, how many times I've got to tell people about their deposit? Are they not listening? But then I realized, well, yeah, no, they are. They've moved on.
Keeps the column going, Mario.
And, absolutely. And there are new people who don't know. And of course, you don't know what you don't know. And you come from jurisdictions and countries and of places where people do things in a different way. You take the UK, for example. I mean, renting a property in the UK is very, very different. We are now starting to move to more, dare I say, the Western ways of doing things in terms of referencing, in terms of the number of payments you can make, with the 12-check payment or the more flexi rent. But it's very, very different. I mean, a tenant will turn up here thinking, oh, just find a property. Then he's slapped with the 5% or 5,000 dirham plus VAT, whichever is the greater fee. And they go, hold on a minute. When did that happen? I don't do that in my country. So again, it's just explaining the nuances of how we do business here. As I say, keeps the column relevant and obviously gives us lots to talk about on the Dubai Property Podcast.
I had to do a Legionella water assessment.
Oh, when? Why?
In
your villa?
No. This was in Scotland. This is for this flat that we've got, I should say. We had to do a Legionella water assessment before I could rent the property.
As a landlord,
as a landlord, that's what you have to
okay.
do. And I'm like, what do you mean? What's Legionella? What do I have to do? So it is a guy comes around and tests the water quality.
But hold on, Scotland has got the purest water The water you brush your teeth with in the tap is better than the bottled water here, I would wager.
That's what most Scots would say, I
Well, no,
think.
I've
But
been to-
obviously that's a way of keeping, making sure that it remains.
No, I guess so. No, but I've
such.
been to Scotland, and the one thing that I took away, apart from the natural beauty, we were going up the sort of west coast, and
I'm waiting for this because I'm not sure what's coming.
nothing.
Is it people shouting at each other? Because that's what most of Scots
no,
do.
that's normally me. No, what I took away was the fact that when I was brushing my teeth, how fresh. Not just cold, obviously,
Yeah,
but how
that's true,
fresh
actually.
that water is. And literally you are drinking what would appear to be bottled water. It's drinking, or at least brushing your teeth with it anyway.
Depths of the glens, or so, I don't know. There's a poetry way of putting it. But you're right. But it did mark the sort of difference between what's expected in different
But then
locations.
even in the UK, they've got these gradings. Like, you buy a fridge freezer now, or a fridge. It's got A, B, C, D, the sort of the grading of the
green
efficiency.
and
exactly.
amber to red. Yeah. Well, that's
houses,
here as well
houses,
now.
the houses are the same.
Yeah.
you cannot sell a house without they call it an EPC.
That's right.
You cannot sell a house, and you certainly cannot rent it. And now with the new renters' rights bill that's come through in the United Kingdom as well, which has given a lot more power to the tenant. So much so that a lot of landlords are putting their arms up and saying, "Well, I'm out," which has caused some issues. But then even here we have these laws that I would wager are perhaps more tenant friendly than landlord friendly.
You do bang the landlord drum at times, which is refreshing, I suppose, because most of the comments we get, if I look online, it's mainly my landlord is
Kicking me out, what should I do?
or is beep
Yeah.
beep beep beep.
No, absolutely not. I'm a Libran, obviously, as a star sign, so I always have to balance things up. So, no, landlords, are not. Okay, let's rephrase this. Tenants and landlords are equally as bad as each other, but they're equally as good as each other. It's the headline. It's the bad ones that make the headlines. Obviously, news is always tends to be bad. You don't see the news coming up with kitten rescued from a tree in a garden. Well, you don't, do you?
Not as much. No.
Well, exactly. Whereas earthquakes, death, destruction, wars.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
the spicy stuff. Of course
yeah.
it is,
So there you go. But no, going back to the column, I like to readdress that balance, and I do like it when landlords also write to me, because it tends to be the tenants, of course, and half the time I just think these landlords are being misguided by people who either don't know or are just winging it, and by that I mean some agents,
But there's an element, isn't there, in a situation like, take Dubai as the example of this huge real estate boom in a very short space of time. Inevitably, you will have some incredible, knowledgeable institutional investors, institutional landlords.
and
That's
often they
what
know a
do.
lot more than we do. I
Exactly.
hasten to add, but yeah.
But you will also have people just with absolutely no idea of what they're doing. So you've got this huge spectrum. And as the system has developed, the legal situation has developed, people have to play catch up. So inevitably, you're going to have these very extreme stories, I think.
Yeah, you are, and the column and the podcast and this show go some way, hopefully, to educate people or to show them the way of how things are done here, and then all of a sudden they're more wary and are able to go into, I wouldn't say into battle, but they're forewarned is forearmed, and they know what they're doing, or at least should do.
More numbers for you. So the first lot of numbers, Dubai has more than 24,000 property units in 6 months, 104 projects, 111 billion dirhams completed in the first half of 2026. Very positive story. Second story, this is, let me see, it was Golf News again, actually, over the weekend. Dubai has nearly 100,000 homes, 96,585 homes entering the market in 2026. 83% are sold, villas 95%. There you go. Another success story for you. But what this tells you is demand is, well, I think the word they used was staggering, and that's pretty much right.
But again, if you're looking at the absorption rate, and those figures are coming out now, these properties were sold, 2-3 years ago at launch.
Yeah.
And so what it tells me is that rents are going to continue to be softer, potentially, and maybe even sales prices, because not everything that is going to be handed over is going to be rented out. There's going to be a portion lived in. There's going to be a portion just remaining empty, maybe as a holiday home, and there's those that are going to enter the rental market, whether it's short or long term. So it just continues to stir the soup, really. It continues to keep the whole thing fluid and liquid. As we grow, because the population is still growing, potentially maybe not as fast as it was from what I gather, clearly, and that's obvious, but it's still growing nonetheless. People have to live somewhere. And so, like I say, I don't get thousands of emails on these platforms, but I do get enough to show me that Dubai is doing a good job in selling itself. And when the world news talks about situations, hopefully they then get to hear from shows like this and mine that we are still building, we are still doing infrastructure projects, we are still thinking about the future, rather than hearing what the BBC, Sky News, CNN, or any of these other channels want to tell you. So we are reaching some really, really good numbers, and I hope this show also grows from that point of view.
Well, if you look beyond 2026, look at the pipeline, construction pipeline, right? Dubai has 565,000 nearly residential properties under construction.
That's a lot.
Across the city.
I have to say that is a lot.
Scheduled through to about 2028. That's where we are now. 75.5% of those are sold.
Again, yeah. So the absorption, because they were launched 2-3 years ago, etc.
Yeah.
But when you consider that we were working towards, and I hope my figures were right here, approximately 200,000 new residents coming to Dubai per year, that clearly will have slowed down. Yeah. If you're talking 575,000?
564,072 to be exact.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. And that's taking you up to 2028?
Up to 2028, yeah.
Okay, so you can say that's sort of 2.5 years. All right. If we were working at 200,000 a year, yep. So 2 years is 400,000. Half is 500,000. So you can see how we were keeping up with that number that is potentially going to be handed over in 2028. There will be we will have overshot the runway, not in a good way, by the way, because of the situation. Because that rate of population growth will have taken a hit, and it will take time for the world to realize that despite what the world throws at Dubai, it will bounce back eventually. So I'm not concerned, to be very honest with you, because even with that, and I said that's a huge number, even that huge number, the fact that the majority of them are already sold, there's only a certain portion of the real estate sector that might take, I'm not going to say a hit, but will be affected, and that's potentially the rental market, which again, on one hand, is bad for the landlords, but it's great for the tenants. So again, it sends out a message, that housing is, I'm not going to say cheap, but cheaper than it was several years ago.
Slightly more reasonably priced, but still at a level where there is room for some growth there and room for future investment. Some of the prime locations here are Wasl for apartments, communities like Wadi Al Safa 5, which is, am I right in saying...
I think that's Al Barari area, isn't it? It's certainly
I think that's Arabian Ranches 3.
3, okay.
So that would be kind of behind, a little bit further out towards Al Qudra. Nadal Sheba first for villas.
Nadal Sheba is very popular at the
hotspots.
moment.
Yeah, absolutely right. There's always a headline
But
there,
that's
isn't it?
villas there for you as well.
Yeah, exactly. What else can we talk about? We haven't got that much time, actually. We've only got 10 minutes or so. I thought it's worth mentioning Palm Jebel Ali unveiling limited collection of 44 beachfront villas. It's Frond F that these villas are at. Huge places. These are very nice. 7 bedroom.
Yeah, you've got the beach and the coral collection.
Yeah.
So you've got effectively a bit like sort of the original garden home and signature villa, if you like, albeit much bigger.
Yeah.
Still representing what I think is very, very good value for money. The bigger units, 48 to 54 million and 30 to 33 million for, I say the smaller ones, they're still huge.
They're still 7,500, 8,500 square feet.
They're still huge.
Yeah.
But, don't forget Palm Jebel Ali is the blue-eyed boy at the moment. It's the favorite one. The granddaddy of them all, Palm Jumeirah, is still bringing in huge numbers. I mean, just to give you an idea of value, I mean, we're talking about 30 million, 33 million, as if it's tuppence halfpenny in a bag of chips,
It's back of the sofa.
For those who know what I'm talking about. But
tuppence halfpenny and a bag of chips.
but
I can't even translate that.
But look, there's just to give you a context. One of my agents has got a signature villa for sale, and this on Palm Jumeirah, and it's been described as one of the cheapest villas available at 48 million. Right. I know it's ready. It's a secondary market property, and Palm Jebel Ali is off plan. I get that. Although, I think next year you'll start to see some handovers already from there. At 48 million, describing it as entry level, perhaps on the Palm. So it makes 30 million look an absolute Billy bargain, doesn't it? If you can wait, 2 or 3 years for handover.
If you put it that way.
And this house is what the Americans would call a fixer-upper. So it also needs money spending on it. So there you go. Good value for money. I think Nikhil Meras, especially Nikhil, obviously, for this particular one, part of All Dubai Properties, doing a great job with Palm Jebel Ali. And not just the villas, the apartments as well. Doing really well. Lots of people wanting a piece of that action because everybody wants waterfront. And that's also why, going back to Iraq, why that's an amazing one. One thing I forgot to say is that all the units, including the studios, have all got water views. So not only are you minutes from the beach, fully furnished, fully serviced, fully branded, turnkey, all of that stuff, you've got water view. Even the back units, which often are what I call the runts of the litter in any development, where you don't see much, has got water view, rear side water view, because it's the way the land is. And by the way, this isn't man-made. This is proper Ras Al Khaimah, terra firma. Yeah, this is not man-made.
So say terra firma again?
Terra firma. It's Latin. It's not Italian.
No, but it just goes from great to greater.
Okay.
This morning with the Italianisms and the hand gestures.
Yeah, I've noticed I've been waving my hands quite a bit.
You're quite excited.
Luckily, I haven't been touching the microphone, which often happens.
There's always a first time. Do you know what? I'm interested in what you say there because there's some buyer data out. And it essentially shows that wealthy buyers and tenants are looking beyond price tags. What people want, and you just alluded to this, people want privacy. That's where the shift has been. Yep. They want waterfront living and they want ready properties. That seems to be what the data is showing at the moment. And that's what, more and more is being delivered.
Well, you'll also see that the secondary market will start to come into its own. We saw a little bit of that in June. The tale of the tape has been, for a while, that the majority of deals have been off plan. Yeah. You see that sort of numbers like 70%, 60%, 70-odd, 5%, majority off plan to secondary. But the fact that you've now stated that, and that must have been a survey by Beirut or whatever.
It was, yeah.
People will now start to vote with their feet from the point of view that all these units that are coming on the market, if they haven't already been bought by someone or been dealt with from a rental point of view, will be bought by someone else. Now, of course, I don't know what prices are going to do. Maybe they're going to stay at this level because I can't see prices going up anytime soon, not just because of the situation that we're in geopolitically, but even if we didn't have that, with this amount of handovers, you're always going to have your pockets of anomalies, but in the main, I think you will find that we would have reached a sort of a plateau, a stabilization. I never use the word correction because it means to me something's wrong and you're correcting it, but it isn't, because the real estate market is market-led. And so with all these numbers coming in, I think people want to also see what they're buying. And there's something to be said, especially in this part of the world where we have a lot of Indian buyers who believe in Vastu compliance. They want to know which way the door faces, which, you can still look on a plan or where the kitchen is or the bathroom is in terms of the floor plan within the actual layout. It's not until you get there can you really tell. Now numerology is coming in as well. That's a subject we could talk about another time, where we actually had a deal that didn't happen over the weekend. We had this buyer who Indian buyer who wanted to buy a property, was happy with it, and it was an off plan, but he had to call his numerologist, and the numerologist said, no, don't buy that floor. It was on the low 20s or something. He said, buy on a higher floor. Fortunately, there was one. And so you'd think, great, we're still going to do a deal. But no, because it was on a Sunday, Saturday, beg your pardon, it was Saturday or Sunday, they said, but don't buy today, wait till Monday. And of course, in business, timing is everything. And that's why agents try to close people, because people, they can repent at leisure, can't they? And I've often said that the loneliest walk is when you put a deposit down at the developer's office, is that walk between the developer's office and your car in the car park, thinking, what have I done? Have I done the right thing, etc. The more time you give certain people, the more they're not going to do it. Yeah. So consequently, this guy's ghosted us. He's just disappeared, which is the tale of the tape in real estate. Ghosting, so much ghosting.
I know. I feel for you in those terms. Actually, I have to say.
You think the person. He said, "I love it. I'm happy with it. I'm this. I'm that." If you're not sure, just don't give anybody any false hopes or whatever. Just my advice to clients: please keep your mouth shut. Keep your emotions to yourself, because you're basically telling people, I'm going to buy this property, and of course that means we've done our job, and then we get paid on it, and then you disappear like a ghost, like a puff of smoke.
The thing is, though, when you look at this, is the biggest purchase most people make in their lifetime. That old adage, right? But it is true. So you look at that and you think, well, I've got this and I could do this, and it's like, right, I really like it. And then you go and where you look at your figures and you actually look at whether the service charge is going to come in and what's this 4% for, and all of a sudden things change in the cold light of day.
I know, and
sadly,
maybe I'm just looking at it too simplistically, but please do your due diligence and know what the 4% is for, and know what the fees are. And the good news is, if you buy off plan, you don't owe a fee at all. It's the developer that pays the fee. And I may add, anybody thinking about going direct to a developer, please don't, because you are cutting out an agent who's worked very, very hard, and you don't get any better benefits going direct. I would say in the main. In fact, if anything, it's better to go through a broker because we have a relationship with that developer. If you go direct thinking that you're going to get something much, much cheaper, 99 times out of 100 you don't. I can't say 100%, but you don't. So,
well, it's worth paying for expertise.
Build that relationship, and look, if you're dealing with a numpty, then move on. Find a better person.
Just let me translate that word, numpty. Less than efficient, maybe less educated than others. Is that a way of describing
You're very good. I just looked at Faraj's face, and there was a blank stare at you. I'm glad you mentioned to the listeners what they are.
It is a great phrase. My other favourite when describing people, this is a peculiarly English phrase, maybe British phrase, I don't know, is just to call somebody a muppet.
A muppet, absolutely.
That's also, which is kind of like a numpty
Yes.
in current parlance.
Yes.
We're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately, because it is 10 o'clock.
Oh, it's been amazing. Thank you.
Good to talk to you. We'll be seeing you next week, no doubt. But in the meantime, I didn't even get to talk to you about the Toyota building. I wanted to have a chat about that as well this morning.
Well, we can leave it. That's one that's going to run and run. We can talk about it next time.
Mario Volpe hosts a weekly real estate column for the national newspaper. He co-hosts the Dubai Property podcast. He's a senior manager at UAE Real Estate. What was that I called you earlier? All-round real estate guru?
A guru, yes.
Yeah.
I'll come in with my turban next time.
Yeah, well, that would be a turn up for the books. We'd film that too. That pretty much does it. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim.
We stream 24/7 on YouTube, on TuneIn, on Streamer, and more. Just look up MIRA Business FM.
MIRA Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio. MIRA Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
It's the morning drive at MIRA Business FM. It is a public holiday this Friday, and the decision here was we can't have another week without speaking to the veritable oracle of gold and other precious metals, and therefore he is back on a Wednesday. Seems a little bit out of sorts, but Jeff Rhodes is back with us. He's the Managing Director for Business Development for the Middle East and Asia at Monetary Metals. Good to see you.
Yeah, strange.
Welcome back
Good
to
morning.
the UAE as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nice to have you here.
Yes.
You look rested, you look well, you've obviously been golfing and
Yes,
all
indeed.
that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Jeff. Look, thank you for joining us in the studio on a day that you normally wouldn't be here. Point of order, first of all, right? So last night, I plugged your name into Google's AI. I was checking something, and the AI, the Gemini was open, and I thought, I'm just going to put your name in there for no reason other than I just thought I would. Here's what it spat back. Jeff Rhodes, widely recognised across the industry as the godfather of gold leasing. That's what Google thinks of you.
Oh, thank you, Google.
And I thought to myself, you've made it. If the internet calls you the godfather of anything, isn't that the pinnacle? You should just retire. I don't even know why you bothered to turn up.
Yeah, funny. That's really funny. Like, I'm definitely not the godfather of gold leasing. That honour goes to Keith Weiner, the CEO of Monetary Metals.
Well, I checked the Monetary Metals website because I thought that sounds like a phrase that AI has pulled from somewhere. And that's what Keith Weiner called you in your bio on the Monetary Metals website.
Oh, really? Thank you,
Yes,
Keith.
the godfather of gold leasing. So he's given that one to you. Anyway, that's by the by. Let's look at why gold's continuing to break the mold. So the backdrop is this, right? Global markets wrestling with geopolitical escalation, geopolitical tensions, inflation concerns, standard story, shifting central bank reserves, and gold it's just the ultimate barometer of risk. Have I assessed it reasonably?
It is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It is a barometer of risk, but the important thing is that gold really protects your underlying assets. If you look at the gold price dating back to when I started in the market, it was $35 an ounce. The official price of gold, 1971, which happens to coincide with the birth of this great nation. So, and then in 1975, Americans were allowed to own gold again because from the 1930s, ownership of gold was banned. So that was introduced back into the US economy, and the modern era of gold came about. But from that time, going back, gold was $35 an ounce, and then it was around $200 an ounce. And then in 1980, we got it to $850 in the wake of the Iranian Revolution and Russia invading Afghanistan and so on, and lots of geopoliticals. And gold was the go-to asset then. It's still the go-to asset now. It went through a terrible period from 1981 to 2001 of bear market. And Tim, it got to around about $250 an ounce in the middle of 2001. Okay, and from that point, we saw a breakout. And from 2001, gold's only gone in one direction. So it's really gone from $250 to this year $5,602. So it's been a one-way street really for 25, 26 years. And I don't see it stopping anywhere soon. As last week when we spoke, and you pushed me into my $6,000 prediction.
It wasn't a lot of pushing, let's be honest. You kind of jumped in.
A bit of pushing, and maybe November's a little bit early in that. Yeah, wink, nudge. And but really, I don't see anything over time stopping gold reasserting itself, and in fact, has always been the key asset in global markets.
Yeah, I mean, gold at the moment is around the 4.5 or 45.50, 4,600 level, right?
Yeah, just about
Holding.
46.50 as we speak.
46.50 at the moment. Okay, so it's holding pretty steady. Is the surge about expected interest rate cuts? Are big investors panicking about rising government debt? Is it worry over global conflicts? What is it?
It's all of
three.
that and the above.
Right. Okay.
But for me, the key aspect of gold is the discussion on interest rates, because rising dollar interest rates are not good for gold, because it's an alternative holding of assets, and if you've got 5% plus for long-term treasuries, as a country, and you're looking to get yield for your assets, you hold them in long-term US treasuries, and that gives you that fundamental yield.
Yeah.
And gold has suffered from that, really has suffered from that. But the feeling in markets, and you always see it, gold is great, but it doesn't give you a yield. There is no return on gold other than the capital gains that you might get.
Yeah.
And after all, since 2001, we're up a few thousand%. So, but this ongoing narrative that if you hold gold, you have no yield. Well, of course, that is not true anymore.
No, it's not. I want to talk to you about that, actually. I want to dig into that in a minute, if we can.
Of course.
But I'm interested. You've now got back to Dubai. You live in Iraq, but you commute between the two, both home. So you're very kind of, I was going to say entrenched here, but I mean that in a good way. You've been here for a long time. And the Middle East, particularly Dubai as a hub and the DMCC, there's this kind of, I suppose it's a cultural, it's a commercial affinity for gold, isn't it? I think that's fair to say. Yeah. How is regional institutional demand behaving relative to capital flows in the Western capital flows in the current climate, where we are now? Do you think?
Well, what do you mean by institutional demand in this region?
I think I'm really asking about sentiment, about feeling around gold more than anything else.
Okay, look, for this part of the world,
excuse me.
No problem. So this part of the world, for the Middle East, for Asia.
Yeah.
Right. So if you go Asia, Middle East, and really going across, let's include Turkey in that, because there's a big gold market in Turkey. Locals, people believe in gold. There is an affinity with gold that's been there for 5,000 years. So that belief in gold is unshakable. If I guess if you look at maybe in terms of US, you might have 1% of the population owns physical gold. If you look at the Middle East and Asia, and certainly India, that's 99%.
It's a huge difference, isn't it?
And that cultural belief in gold as a store of value, and whereas in the modern markets, in the financial markets, gold is seen as the barbaric relic.
Yeah,
I think Warren Buffett called it the barbaric relic, or someone famous. But at the end of the day, we live in a part of the world that feels as it really holds gold as the ultimate asset that will be a safe haven store of value, and you can't shake that.
No. And that it's just understanding that difference, I think, and that's where we sit here in this region.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Let me ask you. I wanted to ask you a little bit about. In fact, let me ask you about silver first of all, because gold climbing 46.50 around about there at the moment. So northwards. Just a quick word on silver. Your other, favorite precious metal.
It dipped to $55 over the summer, and just to remind everyone that in January the price was $121. So that was a fairly brutal reversal. But it steadied and is currently trading between 65 and 70, which is a fair number. I think at the end of the day, when you look at silver versus gold, silver has much, much more going for it in terms of industrial demand. You know, you mentioned AI uses silver. Yeah, solar panels use silver.
Yeah.
And where we're going, certainly in a kind of looking for clean energy, silver is a major part of developing clean energy. So silver, in terms of industrial demand, is better than gold. It does have this. It has a chronic deficit of supply versus demand. Now, when you look at supply of silver, there's a whole different kettle of fish, because there is actually no real cost of production for silver. For certainly 2/3 of silver is byproduct.
Yeah, absolutely.
You dig gold out of the ground, you get silver for free.
Yeah.
You dig copper out of the ground, you get silver for free. So when you come to a silver mining business, what's the cost? The cost of mining 1 ounce of silver, it can be zero. It's an accounting entry. And so that makes silver a lot more difficult to trade, which is why I love it. And I actually love the volatility of silver. Silver's twice as volatile as gold. And if you like, that for me, that's an unshakable belief in the volatility. And over time, it really will give you a very, very, very good return if you get it right.
Pretty and arguably a lot more useful.
A lot more useful
is the point, isn't it?
Health. Your health uses a lot of silver.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You know what I wanted to talk to you about this morning? We don't really talk about what you do day to day. We talk generally about the market or, the gold price. I basically ask you for a prediction on where it's going to be every week.
I get it wrong.
And I get that. So far, you've not, unfortunately. But there will be a day I will catch out the oracle. I wanted to talk to you about gold leasing a little bit more, to try and understand it. Kind of because, like, the way things are at the moment, standard thinking is kind of being tested, isn't it? Wherever you look at the moment, the old ways are being tested. So for generations, the classic sort of critique of physical gold has been, and you've said this many times, sits in a vault, it's like an insurance policy, doesn't really pay interest or dividends, it sits there and looks shiny.
Costs you money, storage and insurance.
So you're kind of well placed to challenge that view, of course, of all those things that I put forward there. But how is the market shifting away from that mindset? First of all,
I'd say it started, certainly from my perspective, back in 1999, when September 26, 1999, we had the European Central Bank. Okay. It's a Sunday, actually.
Very specific date.
Well, I had a kind of meeting in my office at Standard Bank on that Sunday to discuss what we're going to do, because gold was looking as it moved from $255 to $270 on the Friday, and something was going on. We didn't know what, but it was an announcement by the European Central Banks plus Switzerland that they wouldn't lend gold anymore, or they would restrict their lending of gold, and they would restrict their selling of gold. So that meant where was the liquidity going to come from to fund the borrowings of gold? And so we decided that we found a solution, which was to take in jewelry as collateral and give kilobars out against the jewelry, a gold against gold structuring, and we implemented that in the following week, and it saved any real problems of margin calls in this part of the world, in Dubai. So moving on to current levels or current situation, I think it was 2016. Monetary Metals instigated a gold against gold structure, gold leasing. So taking gold onto a platform, people who have physical gold who wanted a yield. And then there's a whole army of people who need gold in their business for working capital. Okay. And who are those? Jewelers. Yep. Those jewelers, the biggest jewelry market in the world, actually, is the UAE, is Dubai. And so you've got a whole group of jewelers who need gold for their business, But on the other side, there's a whole army of people who have physical gold who would prefer to have a yield rather than keeping it in a vault. Sure. And so Monetary Metals constructed Keith Weiner, who is really a visionary. Honestly, he's a fantastic guy, the most intelligent person I've ever met. And he developed this platform which puts together people who have physical gold, who would like a yield, and people who need physical gold, who are jewelers, who have been paying, kind of good amounts for gold loans denominated in dollars, putting those together and to make a tremendously efficient way of financing the gold jewelry industry. And that is really the nature of the business. That's what I'm involved with now, with Keith and his team. And so we have turned gold into a non-yielding asset. Everyone says problem with gold is no yield, into a yielding asset, a real yield. And that's significant. But also it means that the people who are paying for the financing probably paying a little bit less, maybe the same as the traditional gold loan borrowing. But the most important thing, once you take in, let's say, 100 kilos of gold on lease, you will always have that 100 kilos.
Yeah.
Now, if you've taken the dollar equivalent of the 100 kilos and gold prices double, as they have done in the last 2 years, you've now only got 50 kilos to work with.
Sure, you've got
that
half
kills
of what you
your
had.
business.
Right.
Now, it's like, for a jeweler, margin calls are like evil because you have to keep money in the bank just in case there's a margin call.
Yes.
Now, a good jeweler in this part of the world will make a net profit of 10 to 20%. So the real opportunity cost of keeping money in cash in the bank is upwards of 20%. And the jeweler has to deal with this problem day in, day out. And of course, when going back to 2016, gold was around $1,200. It's been to $5,000. So anyone that's had their financing as a gold lease rather than a dollar denominated gold loan has had sleepless night after sleepless night. Whereas anyone that's in the Monetary Metals platform can sleep at night.
So leasing gold instead of borrowing
Physical gold.
Instead of borrowing.
Yeah.
It changes the risk dynamic, doesn't it?
It does. It does
Completely.
indeed. Yeah.
Switches it round.
Absolutely, because it's like, let me liken it to a car. You lease a car for a year, you don't own it, but you use it in your business. Yeah. Now, the jeweler doesn't need to own the gold, it needs to have use of the gold. So for one year lease, the jeweler can use that gold on lease for 1 year. It is not a loan, it's a lease, and it's therefore not necessarily on its balance sheet. A question mark against that. Certainly in the US, a gold lease is off balance sheet.
Right.
Definitely. And so you don't weigh down your balance sheet because of your gold leasing. Whereas in other parts of the world, a gold lease is treated as a loan. But I just go back to a car. When you lease a car, you don't own it. You just pay the cost of the lease. So with the Monetary Metals platform, you're paying the cost of a lease, but it's not affecting your balance sheet.
Okay, so let's look ahead a few years for a second. Let me just ask you I've done this a lot this morning, actually. I don't know, maybe it's crystal ball gazing day, I'm not sure. But how do you see traditional kind of bullion expertise, gold expertise, the way the market looks at the metal, and the way that financial technology is, how do you see that combining with kind of the traditional with the fintech industry? Do you see a change in the way everyday investors and institutions hold and utilize gold? Do you see that growing?
Absolutely. I think one of the things we've noted over the last 2 or 3 years is with the evolution of fintech and with the tokens, tokenization with the tokens backed by gold. So as that business grows, it needs to be backed by more gold and more gold. I mean, the evolution of tokenization in gold is really fantastic for demand for gold. So it's a really, and people love tokenized gold, tokens backed by gold because they believe in gold.
Yeah.
More and more, even the non-believers are starting to see the usefulness of gold.
Gold demands like a faith, doesn't it?
It
Do you know
is.
what I mean? I mean, it's very similar to having, your own personal faith, whatever it is. That's kind of the level we're at.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that belief in gold as a store of value, as it's intrinsic, as I say, in this part of the world. I honestly don't know how I ended up in the gold business. It was by luck or bad luck or good luck. I don't know. It seemed to have been fairly good to me.
I think it's worked out, Jeff.
Yeah, it's worked out for me. But I do have this fundamental belief in gold. It's funny you should mention Dubai. I see Dubai as my home. I do, honestly. And so many people in the gold circuit have said to me, how long have you been here? But it's coming up for 30 years. So,
it's a bit like, you walk down the gold city and they're like, oh, there he is again. we can't get rid of him.
Actually, it's not that. I normally get a hug and a
I know you do. You get a hug and a cup of tea in every store.
I do, yeah.
I know how it works with you. That's all the time we've got, unfortunately. Jeff, I really appreciate you coming in. I know it's a Wednesday. I know it didn't really fit in the schedule, but you did it anyway. Jeff Rhodes is the Managing Director of Business Development for the Middle East and Asia at Monetary Metals. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Good to have you with us. If you've missed any of this discussion at all, the full interview is going to be on our YouTube channel, and no doubt there'll be a little Instagram reel, a highlight as well.
MIRA Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.